Hey guys, Steve here, aka the Dark Horse. Yeah, usually I don't jump on this camera and usually just show off what I'm doing, right? That's kind of like what I like to see is stuff in the car, right? So typically that's what I do, but I figure I'd jump on here and say howdy ho. And yeah, anything you want to know about the car, I can talk about it, right? So yeah, this thing here I've had for about 5 years. Got it when it was completely stock. And this thing has seen just about every change and every add-on that you can possibly do to it, right? So from when it was stock NPI, all 98 stuff, doing the PI swap intake, doing the mod for that, and then, finally getting around to doing a PI swap on the heads, and then putting cams in the car, and, doing all the stuff that seems scary at first, especially with these cars. If you're coming from an old push rod, I'm an old push rod guy. Grew up on 60s muscle, so built a lot of 60s style cars, a lot of trucks. Always was into the Fords. Used to work at a Chevrolet dealership. Heavy line mechanic, so I used to do a lot of motors and transmissions. And so when you see me do a lot of this stuff over here, it's, I've done it plenty of times. But when you get into these, right, a lot of people get scared of them because it's the twin cams and it's, the clearance, and you can bend valves very easy, if you don't know what you're doing, and it's very easy to mess up, right? It's just like with anything else. You just got to kind of do it, know what works, what doesn't work, and being a MacGyver of some sort, right? Being able to, hey, if something doesn't work, or you make it work. If you know how to customize and do that type of stuff, right? It's trial and error. There's a lot of stuff that, we used to do some stupid stuff back in the day just to see if it would work. And a lot of times it did work, and it was like, it shouldn't work, but it works actually pretty good. So you learn some of that stuff, right? But nowadays, I try to do everything right instead of, monkeying it together. But, yeah, it's just typical stuff. I'm into, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it once. I don't want to do it over and over and over again. But this year, this car has made me do it over and over and over again. So sometimes you just get that, right? It's the car that is doing it, right? So it gets interesting, right? Because sometimes you get discouraged, right, when you're working on these things, just because it's an old car. There's a lot of stuff that just breaks, right, because it's old. If you've got old parts, right, some of these parts are 30 years old, and been abused for 30 years, or been abused for 20 of them, right? So you never really know. I try to get as much Ford stuff as possible instead of doing some of the other stuff. But genuine Ford parts typically last. Good name brands versus knockoffs, right? I put a set of eBay headers on this thing when I first got it. I was like, you know what? These stainless steel things, pick them up cheap, right? A couple $100. Stuck them on there. First of all, they were a pain to put in because I still got the stock K member. I get them in with the stock K member. 3 months goes by, the EGR tube blows out of it because it's cheap. The metal's real cheap, right? So it blew the EGR tube out. I had it capped because I had an EGR delete. But needless to say, the whole thing just blew out. So I had no choice but to take the damn headers off and replace them. So it's like, okay, well, do I swap them for another set of these cheap eBay things? Okay, now what? Now I've got more than that in labor. Even if I'm doing it, I've got more than that in my time to have to get underneath here, take it off, and all the aggravation and stuff that goes along with it. Until you figure out different ways that you can do it easier, right? for me nowadays, I can just pull this motor in no time, swap a header and pop it back on versus trying to do anything else from underneath it. But it just depends on what you're set up for, right? I don't have a lift. I do everything here. I lift it up off the ground with just jack stands and I crawl underneath it. How I get the transmission in and out, I bench press it. I'm old school, right? I just pick it up and put it on my chest and bench press that thing until I can't, because I can't get a jack underneath there big enough, right, for the transmission. So it's this point, it's easier to pop the transmission out, or the engine out, than it is the transmission. I just get there, loosen it up, leave everything in there, and then you don't have to dig with the drive shaft and everything else that goes along with it. But all depends on what you're doing and what you have to do. And each time I have to do something on here, I make it to where it's easier the next time I do it. Because you know what? I know I have to do it again. It's part of it, right? That's an old car. Now, if I had, if I still was running my 66 or something like that, I'm sure they were going to have problems too. It was like every weekend I was doing something on those. Were carbureted, right? So those have a whole nother situation goes along with carburetors, and when the weather changes, and if you don't have the proper stuff on that. So a lot of that stuff, you just convert those to EFI, right? And just let it be computerized. That's kind of where I'm at with a lot of this stuff nowadays. Make it easy. But I've changed a lot of stuff on this car. This motor here is a 2004 Mercury Grand Marquis motor. Had 114,000 miles on it. I looked up the VIN when I bought it, and it never came in for motor issues. Some of the other ones I did look at the VIN numbers are, and I could tell that they came through some of the mechanic shops and had engine work under warranty and everything else. So it was like some of those I was like, let me stay away from those. They're already having issues. So I ran the numbers on this one. I was like, okay, well, it'd be a good donor to kind of go. I already had most of the stuff, from the last motor. I just had blew up, only had 3,000 miles on it. So some of those parts I still could use because it locked right up and it didn't run, debris and stuff all through the whole system like my first one did. So this one here just, it blew up and just shattered itself into the oil pan. So I didn't see any of that stuff get flushed through, which was pretty good. But I flushed everything. But yeah, it does. Some of that stuff was right here, man. These heads got slammed. That block was destroyed. I got parts everywhere. So I kind of like hang stuff, man. It's all about making stuff work. Plasma cutters, welders, MIG welders, stuff for the AC evacuation. Just, you start picking up little stuff. Always got to have jacks, right? I got 2 floor jacks, creepers. You start putting stuff on walls, right? So I start hanging up a lot of tools because I have more than most, right? Because I have numerous of the same. As you can see, they're just stacks, and those are just part of them, right? So you get down into all the specialized tools and stuff, right? There's tons of it. Way too much of it.